If you have a phone, you have a problem you have probably been ignoring for years. Mine was about 40,000 photos, a decade of them, sitting in one giant pile, completely unsorted. Screenshots next to birthdays, next to blurry pictures of receipts, next to actual memories I would be sad to lose. And the worst part was not the mess itself. It was that none of it was findable. If I wanted the photo of my dad at the beach from a few summers ago, my only option was to scroll and give up. So I decided to fix it properly, not by hand, and not by uploading my entire life to some company's servers. I pointed a local AI model at the whole library and let it sort and tag every single photo right here on my own machine. In the next 12 minutes, I want to show you exactly how that works, what it got wrong, and whether it is actually worth doing. First, why I would not use the cloud. Let me start with the part most tutorials skip right past. Almost every easy photo organizing tool wants you to upload everything to the cloud first, and for a lot of people that is a perfectly fine trade. But these are my family photos, my kid, my parents, the inside of my house where we go when we are not home. That is not data I want sitting on a server I do not control, getting scanned to train who knows what. So the whole project had one hard rule from the start. Nothing leaves this machine. Every photo stays on my own drive, the model that looks at them runs on my own graphics card, and not a single image gets sent anywhere. That one decision shaped everything else. It meant I could not just pay for a slick app and call it done. I had to actually understand the pieces and wire them together myself. But it also meant I never had to wonder who else could see my photos, because the answer was nobody. And honestly, once you have set something like this up once, going back to handing a company your whole camera roll feels a little strange. I also did not want this to be a thing I rent forever. The cloud photo tools are mostly a subscription. You stop paying, and the convenience, sometimes the access itself, walks out the door with your money. I wanted something I would still have in 10 years that does not care whether some company stays in business or changes its pricing or decides photos are no longer part of its plan. Running it on my own hardware means the only thing keeping it alive is me. There is no account to get locked out of, no service to shut down, no terms that change overnight. That durability mattered to me almost as much as the privacy did. These are memories I want to be able to find when I am old, and I did not want them to quietly depend on a company that may not even exist by then. Owning the whole thing, top to bottom, is the only way I could actually promise myself that. So what does the model actually do? Here is the core of the whole thing, and it is simpler than it sounds. There is a kind of AI model called a vision model. You give it an image, and it gives you back words. It looks at the photo and writes a plain description of what is in it. A dog sitting on a wooden floor in the sunlight. A plate of food on a restaurant table. A screenshot of a calendar. It is the same idea as the model that writes my scripts, except it can see. And that is the unlock, because once a photo has been turned into words, everything else becomes easy. A computer is hopeless at searching through raw pixels, but it is brilliant at searching through text. So the entire trick of this project is to walk through every photo once, ask the model to describe it, and save that description right alongside the image. You do that boring pass one time, and suddenly 40,000 silent photos can all tell you what they are. The model is not doing anything magic here. It is just very patient, and it never gets bored on photo number 9000 the way I would. Turning descriptions into tags. A paragraph of description is nice, but it is not how I actually want to find things. So the next step is to boil each description down into tags. Short, simple labels. Beach, food, screenshot, dog, document, people, sunset. I take the model's full description of each photo and pull out the handful of words that actually matter, and those become the tags attached to that image. Now the library is genuinely searchable. I can ask for every photo tag beach, or every screenshot, or every picture with food in it, and get an answer in under a second instead of scrolling for 10 minutes. The tags also catch things I would never have bothered to label by hand. It quietly noticed that a few hundred of my photos were just screenshots and receipts, the kind of junk that clogs up a library and makes the real memories harder to find. Having those tagged separately meant I could finally deal with them as a group, instead of stumbling over them one at a time forever. Fam dem fam. Thing I did not expect was how the descriptions themselves became useful, not just the tags. Because the model wrote a real sentence for each photo, I can search for things no tag would ever have captured. A child holding a yellow balloon, a sunset over water with a boat in it. I do not need to have planned that label in advance, because the full description is sitting there in plain words, and searching text is something a computer does instantly. So the tags give me the broad strokes, the big buckets, and the descriptions let me reach in and find one very specific photo by describing it the way I would to a person. That turned out to be the part one used most. I had assumed I would mostly browse by category, but in practice I just type roughly what I remember about a photo, and it surfaces. The model did the work of putting my memories into words once, and now my fuzzy human memory has something exact to match against. Then it sorts them into folders. Once every photo has tags, sorting becomes a set of simple rules layered on top. Anything tagged screenshot goes into a screenshots folder. Anything tagged receipt or document goes into a paperwork folder. Photos with people and a tag like party or birthday get grouped together. The model does the hard part, which is understanding what is in each picture, and then I write plain rules that decide where each kind of thing should live. I want to be clear that I did not let it just rearrange my entire library on its own in one shot. That would be terrifying. Instead, it first writes out a plan, a long list that says this photo would move here, that one would move there, and I read through a good chunk of it before I let anything actually move. The photos themselves stay exactly where they are until I say go. It is the difference between a tool that suggests and a tool that just does. For something holding 10 years of memories, suggest first is the only sane way to work. Let me be honest about what it gets wrong. Now the part the demos never show you. It gets things wrong, and it gets them wrong with total confidence. It called my black cat a dog more than once. It looked at the photo of snow and decided it was a beach because apparently bright and white is close enough. It saw a poster on a wall in the background and tagged the whole photo as if that poster were the subject. None of these are disasters, but they add up, and if you blindly trust every tag, you will end up with a library that is sorted confidently and wrongly, which is arguably worse than not sorted at all. The way I deal with this is to never treat the tags as the final truth. They are a fast first pass, not a verdict. For the folders I actually care about, the family photos, I still skim through before trusting the grouping. The model gets me 90% of the way there in an evening, which used to be a job I would never finish, but that last 10% is still mine, and I have made my peace with that. A tool that does most of the tedious work and is honest about its mistakes beats a tool that pretends to be perfect. There is also a quieter kind of wrong that took me a while to notice. The model is not great at telling apart things that look similar but mean different things to me. It cannot reliably tell which child in a photo is mine because it does not know my family, and I would not want it to, frankly. It lumps together two completely different trips because both happen to be at the beach. It has no idea that one blurry photo is precious because of who is in it, and another sharp one is junk. All of that meaning lives in my head, not in the pixels, and no amount of describing the image will pull it out. So I learned to use the model for what it is genuinely good at, which is the literal what is in this picture, and to never expect it to understand what a picture means. Once I stopped asking it to do the second thing, I stopped being disappointed and I started getting a lot more value out of the first. What it actually costs to run. Let me talk money and hardware, because this is where people assume it must be expensive, and it really is not. The vision model I use runs entirely on a graphics card I already owned, an old 1080 Ti that is several years past its prime. It is slow by modern standards, but slow is completely fine here, because this is not something I sit and wait for. I kick it off in the evening and let it grind through the whole library overnight while I sleep. 40,000 photos took a couple of nights to fully process the first time. After that, only new photos need doing, which is a handful a day, and that takes seconds. The running cost is basically nothing, because it is just electricity on hardware I already have. There is no monthly fee, no per photo charge, no subscription quietly billing me. The only real cost was the time I spent setting it up and writing the sorting rules, and that was one weekend that now pays me back every single time I need to find a photo. What stays my job? So what did the AI not do, even after all of this? It did not decide what to delete. It can tell me that I have 400 near identical screenshots, but whether they get thrown out is my call, every time, because I am the only one who knows which ones still matter. It did not design my folder structure either. The model describes and tags, but the actual shape of how I want my photos organized, by year, by person, by event, that came from me, because that is a taste decision, not a technical one, and it did not replace the simple human act of actually looking at my own memories. If anything, it made me do more of that, because now I can finally find them. The model handled the part one was never going to do, which was describing 40,000 photos one by one. It handed me back a library I can actually search. What to keep and what it all means stayed exactly where it belongs, with me. So should you build this too? Would I tell everyone to go set this up? Not everyone, no. If your photos already feel manageable, or you genuinely do not mind a cloud app having them, this is more effort than it is worth. But if you have a giant unsorted pile like I did, and especially if the privacy side bothers you even a little, then doing it locally is genuinely worth a weekend. You do not need a fancy new computer. An old graphics card and some patience overnight is enough. And there is something quietly satisfying about knowing that the thing that understands my photos lives under my own desk, not in someone else's data center. I'm going to keep refining mine, and I will probably do a deeper video on the exact setup, the model I picked, and the sorting rules if there is interest. If building useful things with AI without handing your life to the cloud is your kind of thing, subscribe and follow along because there is a lot more coming. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.